if you look at, before I even come to some of the logistic requirements, I mean, INEC always talks about logistics, but there are some others who have said the reason why they're not collected, not because they are aloof, as the elites have been ascribed, but because in some cases I see Bola talking about him going to his unit in Ifako, and he says his entire unit, no PVCs are available, and in that case, he can't collect. So for those kind of situations, what do you think of those?
Thank you, Kimberly. Now, those cases that we have out there have been addressed with the PVCs that have been printed. Among the PVCs, the latest batch of PVCs that we have are those for those that did CBR late last year, and they were required to do CBR because their name was not in the register. No polling unit has been cancelled. That kind of language does not exist in INEC's palace. It's either the people, when they register, their fingerprints were not captured, and so they are not on the biometric voter register, and so they have been required to come back to register again. And most of them did that in late last year. So if it belongs to that category, all he needs to do is to go back to that polling unit as we speak. Most likely, I mean, I'm almost sure that the cards will be, those cards will be available at the polling units where we did such registration again. So there's no one who has his name cancelled or the polling unit cancelled as is being said. Is either the data? Yes, there are some data that were recovered from the machines. Again, for recovered data, we have printed the cards. Those cards have been made available out there. And then for the CBR, we have printed the cards. Those cards have been made available. So I will appeal to him to go back to the polling to the distribution point. That's the ward level distribution point. He's likely to find this card there.
Three things actually, but I'll try and limit it to two because of our time. First of all, if we talk about logistics, I mean, I understand that there may be just about 960,000 ad hoc staff perhaps that INEC will engage. And then I also understand that the training of some of the operators of the card readers, these are things that INEC will do, which perhaps has not started. So in terms of logistics for these elections, add to that, the printing of the ballot papers. Have all these started?
Now, Chamberlain, let me correct some things out there. The 960,000 is not INEC's figure. What the commission has always said is that we will be deploying about 750,000 workers for this election. The 950,000 is imaginary and is the fancy of those who propounded that figure. Now, secondly, we do cascade training. And cascade training is such that you begin with training the master trainers. Those master trainers will train the second level of trainers who will go down to train the field workers. We have started the cascade training. Actually, we are on the second level of training. And the ad hoc workers, their training will begin at about weekend. So this alarm about people not being trained is really imaginary, and is part of the designs of people who just want to push for the postponement of election for no reason. Now, as regards the ballot papers, the commission has been the commission has been taking delivery of ballot papers. We don't take delivery of all of them in one day. We take delivery of them as they are printed and they come, and there's no challenge about that. Again, that has not been an issue for the commission. And so those that are flying the kites there know why they are doing that. It's not from the commission.
All right, thank you for clarifying those issues for us. But the thing is, we never have enough time, no matter how much you try, to look at all the complaints that they send to us whenever we discuss some of these matters. But I guess in the days ahead, we'll look at some of these issues. Thank you for talking to us tonight, Mr. Doe.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's get back to this, Mr. Lardner. Well, there he's spoken about the logistics, which he thinks, well, at the moment, he is of the opinion that all is going well. But the other time, too, we had the Resident Electoral Commission of INEC in Lagos here, and he did say that actually INEC makes provision for generators to be bought everywhere across the country, but we don't see that happening. So who knows? In terms of, for those who have those fear about logistics, ensuring that materials get to where they have to at every point in time. So can we even rely on what they say?
Well, you have no choice but to rely on what they say, because they are, after all, the election management body. And yes, some of the challenges are obvious. Those challenges are not particularly unique to INEC itself. It's just part of the general environmental challenges everybody faces, right? But there's a sense in which INEC is confident that this election will hold on that day. I remember speaking to one of the senior executives of INEC about 2 weeks ago, and I asked him on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you reckon? He said, well, 7.5. And I thought it was a very comforting number, but there's also at the back of our collective minds, if that, just suppose they're not ready, right? I think what we can do in support of INEC and this larger democratic process is give them the benefit of the doubt, right? And the assumption that somehow that everything's being done at the very last minute is not entirely true. They've had 4 years to prepare. We've had other elections, gubernatorial elections over the last year or so. There was Anambra, there was Ekiti, there was Oshu, and each has been marginally better. And there's also a learning experience there. There's a learning curve that they've gone through. So to that extent, right, we necessarily have to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? The question you were asking are very legitimate questions about the actual whole-scale logistical chain, right, management processes. I'm sure they have refined it to a point where they can say, yes, the materials are in place in the respective states. That is one dimension of the logistical challenge. The other dimension is on election day, making sure that those materials arrive at the polling stations and polling points on time, and that the actual process of voting commences on time, right? We will not know about that until Valentine's Day.
Well, let me get your comment on this matter. People are still talking about it on Twitter. But let me let you listen to this, and then we'll come back to Mr. Lardner and possibly Mr. Wango. Take a look.
There is intelligence available to us to suspect the partisanship of the organizers. Some of the organizers, not all. Some members of the organizing bodies. And we have concrete intelligence, to prove that they are partisan. And they are not just partisan in terms of their exposures, they're also partisan in terms of active collaboration with PDP in some of the anti-Buhari activities that are going on, including protests. For instance, we know that a particular person who is prominent in the organizing committee of the NEDG was part and parcel of those who planned the protest for postponement of the elections in Abuja, and even had a meeting in Abuja. We have the names of all those who attended the meeting, and they came back to Lagos same day to plan the postponement protest for Lagos, and we monitored everything.